Well, thank you very much indeed. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm very enthusiastic about what I've heard. Yeah, okay. What I've heard today. I mean, from the minister, from the Children's Commissioner, Rosie, all the things I've heard. I'm very enthusiastic. This is a terrific reception and a terrific event. So thank you very much for that. Quite a lot of what I might say has been said, so I shan't repeat it. I'll say one or two things though. Just a bit about my background, and then a bit about the political issues. I should say that throughout the time I've been campaigning, we've avoided making the future of child refugees a party political issue. We've deliberately kept it above party politics because we've needed the support of all political parties at Westminster in order to get the support and get the thing through. So, you know, just because I'm a Labour Party hack, it doesn't mean the issue is one to do with Labour Party hacks. Look, I came on a kinder transport. I'll just say a word about Nicky Winton. A formidable man. He died about a couple of years ago, aged 106. He stumbled on the situation in Prague. He decided something had to be done. Many people would have said, this is awful, but I'm going away, I'm going back to my life. He was a stockbroker. But he decided to do something. And it's really a tribute to the human condition, that people can actually say, something has to be done, and I'm not going to run away, I'm going to do it. And I think that was something. He was a great man, he loved talking politics, he was a great wit. I remember at the age of 102, I said, Nicky, how are you? He said, I'm fine from the neck upwards. And he was totally lucid till just after his 106th birthday. And I went to many of his birthday parties. In fact, he was a constituent of Theresa May's. And I first met her at one of his birthday parties, but I'll come on to that a bit later on. Anyway, I came on a kinder transport. I was luckier than many because my father was Jewish, my mother wasn't, and therefore he left Prague the day the Germans came in March 1939. My mother was refused permission to leave, and she put me on a kinder transport, and eventually she did escape, and then my father died. But anyway, I was luckier than most. I had somebody waiting for me at Liverpool Street, and I'm aware that more than half the children did not have any relative awaiting them at Liverpool Street when they got there. And I remember the long journey. I remember one thing I do remember very vividly. I was 6, and in my school book I had a picture of President Benesch, and when the Germans came in, we had to tear that out and stick in a picture of Hitler. And somehow that stuck in my consciousness as something very dramatic. I didn't understand what it all meant. Anyway, I was on the train, an interminably long journey. My mother saw me off at the station, anxious parents, German soldiers with swastikas, and in your history here you'll know about that. And then we got to the Dutch border, and the older ones cheered because we were out of reach of the Nazis. And of course, I knew it was significant, but didn't know why. And then we got to Liverpool Street and so on. I'm going to move forward very quickly. I want to get to the real issues. But just a bit of one interesting thing. In 1970, I was a Labour candidate for the constituency of the cities of London and Westminster. And my opponent was Christopher Tugendhat. He won. He was a Conservative. He won there. But interestingly, the centre of Britain, the central constituency in London, was being competed for by a refugee from Vienna and a refugee from Prague. And somehow the media never picked that up. So you think the media, anyway. So, and then the only other interesting was when I actually got to the Commons at a later election for a different constituency, I was put on the committee dealing with the British Nationality Bill, or what became the British Nationality Act. And I thought to myself, gracious me, here am I, a refugee from Prague, English is my third language, and here am I, on a small committee of MPs, deciding on the future of British nationality, when I was a naturalised Brit myself. So what other country would have given me that opportunity? I mean, that was quite something when you think about it. I kept saying to myself, can this be me? Well, it was me, but anyway, you know, I still can't always get over it. What a wonderful reception I got from Britain. Now, I'm going to move fast forward. At the beginning of 2016, the Save the Children Fund, they discovered that there were 95,000 unaccompanied child refugees somewhere in Europe, mainly in France, Greece and Italy. And according to Interpol, 10,000 of those have disappeared. Now, if one child here disappears, we're alarmed, we send out search parties, we don't rest until we've found that one child. And yet the thought that 10,000 children just disappeared. And as you've heard earlier, these children are vulnerable to trafficking, criminality, prostitution, all sorts of horrible things. And they are often young people who've travelled 6 months or a year from distant countries. A Syrian boy said to me once he saw his father killed in front of him by a bomb in Aleppo or Damascus. A boy said how he'd fled the Taliban from an Afghan village because the Taliban wanted to recruit him into their fighting people. And these children had terrible journeys, and they ended up, some of them in the jungle in Calais. So that was the story about them. So the immigration bill was going through Parliament, and I put down an amendment saying that Britain should take 3,000 unaccompanied child refugees from Germany, from France, Greece, and Italy. And anyway, about a quarter of all government ministers are in the Lords, so there are quite a lot of them. They kept saying to me, will you drop your amendment? And then I was summoned in to see Theresa May. This is what you don't get in the political books, but I'm going to tell you. So Theresa May, as I said, I met her before with Nicky Winton, and she said to me, could I withdraw the amendment? And I said, why? And she said, well, because if these children come, others will follow. So I said, well, first of all, there's no clear evidence of that. But secondly, we can't turn our backs on these children. Can't do it. Anyway, and then came something which I kept quiet for a long time. She said to me, I can't remember the word she used. She's very charming, by the way. This was a relaxed conversation in a sort of way. Anyway, she said, well now, if you drop your amendment, I will increase the number of people that we're taking under the vulnerable person scheme from Jordan, Lebanon and Turkey, from 20,000 over 5 years to 23,000 over 5 years. And these extra 3,000 will include children. And I said we could do both. And she said no. Anyway, we didn't agree. I wasn't prepared to withdraw my amendment. And then what happened was that she, well, somebody failed to delete it from the Home Office system. So to this day, we've got this figure of 20,000 plus 3,000, which will end, the scheme will end next year. And I didn't like to talk about it too much, in case the Home Office woke up and discovered what they'd failed to do. So I kept quiet about it. Eventually, anyway, so that was a small victory we couldn't talk about. But just going back to the amendment, I was told by my friends in the Commons, well, I knew, they said, sit in the gallery. The amendment passed with a big majority in the Lords, went on its way to the Commons, and they said to me, sit in the public gallery and give them the eye. And I sat there giving them the eye. And it didn't quite pass, and we had to lose the 3,000 figure for parliamentary gobbledygook reasons, which I could bore you with, but maybe not. And so we had to state simply we should take unaccompanied child refugees. It went back to the Lords, a bigger majority, and then something very interesting and exciting happened. Public opinion became aware of this. I think the television pictures of boats sinking in the Mediterranean, of the little boy, Alan Kurdi, dying on a beach, I think we were all shocked by that. And public opinion woke up, and somebody shouted at me in the street. Normally, when there are politicians in the street, people shout abuse. At least, maybe I'm sure they don't in Jersey, but you know, I'm talking about London, and you're more genteel here. Anyway, but she wasn't shouting abuse. She was saying, "Keep on with the amendment." And then Theresa May summoned me in again and said, "We propose to accept your amendment." And the immigration minister then told me, "We propose to accept the letter and spirit of your amendment." Now, we have public opinion on our side, and I believe public opinion is still in Britain. I can't speak for Jersey, but you can. Public opinion is still on the side of unaccompanied child refugees. Maybe they don't like all immigration. I don't agree with that, but maybe they don't. But I think on the whole, if one puts the argument about the vulnerability of children and what we need to do to help. I've never said we should take them all. All I've said is we should take a share of the responsibility. That's all. Very humble. And, you know, what have we had to date? So the government, not having a 3,000 figure to keep them there, they then arbitrarily said, we'll make it, well, 350 and then 480. And the 480 figure came from the fact that local authorities, the government said, local authorities in Britain, we're not able to find more foster parents. Well, I'm afraid we disproved that. We found plenty of local authorities where they are willing and where they are. So there's this argument going on. But of the 480, so far we've had 220. Haven't even got the 480, which is a very small number indeed. So that is where the argument goes on. Now, just a quick word. Many of you have been to the jungle in Calais. I went to the jungle twice, and then once after it had been demolished. The first time I went, there was a little shopping street there, and in the shopping street there were displays of tear gas canisters and rubber bullets. And I said, what are they doing here? And they said to me, well, then the then French government, when they tried to clear the first part of the jungle, they were using tear gas and rubber bullets. I said, but how can they do that? These are refugees, whether they're children or adults. How could they do that? And they said, well, the French government was very worried about the National Front in that part of Calais, in the Calais region. And they were trying to show how tough they were. To which the only comment I can make is that you do not defeat the National Front by using their methods or behaving as they would do. So I found that pretty disgraceful. Anyway, the camp was then cleared. The children were dispersed all over France. We made desperate efforts to get as many of them, safe passage to get as many of them over as possible. We got a few over. The British government blamed the French blamed the British. You know how it goes. So at any rate, we were desperate to find legal routes and to give young people some hope. After the jungle, I then went to Greece 3 times. The last visit was not long ago. I went to the island of Lesbos. Terrible, terrible conditions in those camps. The Greeks aren't able to cope anyway. They find it very difficult. And I was told by Médecins Sans Frontières to look out that in that big camp on Moria, on the island of Lesbos, at night there is real danger, particularly for the young people. And I was told that young boys are getting raped in that camp. It's so shocking. And yet there's no way out. At least in Calais, they had the sense that if we don't find a legal path for them, they can get in the back of a truck. Very dangerous. Some of them got killed, as you saw. But at least there was a bit of hope in Calais. A little bit of hope, not much. You know, to register Calais, you've got to go to Lille. The NGOs have to take you to Lille. There's a small office with two officials there. And you know, that's pretty difficult when you think about the journey from Calais to Lille anyway, and then finding and registering and so on. Anyway, I'm going to move on fast because I've been talking quite a long time. Anyway, so we've got this situation where we are still pushing the British government. I was talking to some London local government leaders, all of them, 2 days ago. And one House of Council have taken 100 kids, for example, and some have done very well, even though they face difficult financial circumstances too. But they've done that. Not all of them. I mean, you know, it's varied, and it varies over different parts of the country. And I think in London, the local government response has been good. But I showed them we were not just lobbying them in London. We were spreading the word all over the country, Scotland and elsewhere. So that's where we stand at the moment. Pressure on the government. I just want to say one other thing in particular. In going to the camps, whether in Greece or in Calais and so on, one of the most humbling things was the young people working with refugees, volunteers, some of them giving years of their lives, virtually no money, just to work with refugees. And I think it's a fantastic tribute to young people in our country. I'll include you in our country, if I may. A fantastic tribute that young people are willing to do that. It's a sign of the real humanitarian sense that there is. So we're pushing the government. I believe we've got public opinion on our side. It'd be wonderful if Jersey could make a small gesture and take at least some of them. I think it's important that we demonstrate there's a shared responsibility for what is a fundamental humanitarian issue. These kids are wonderful. And just to give a decent life to one child is giving one child hope and a future. And if we can do that for more than just one, do that for a few, it'd be great if Jersey could respond in the positive way in which we've heard so far. Over to you.